Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon as we talk about digital marketing strategies in 2021. My name is Nicola Willie-Fenton. I'm going to walk us through our agenda in just a moment here, and we have a lot to get through. I did put a few things into the chat box. We will be recording this session and sharing it with everyone who has RSVP'd. And also, if you have questions throughout the presentation, please do put them in the chat box. I'll do my best to monitor those questions and ask our panelists throughout the presentation, and we will have a period at the end where we can make sure to capture any of those last-minute questions. So I will introduce our two panelists in just a moment. We'll learn a little bit more about Eric and Liz's background, and we're going to talk briefly before we dive into 2021 as the impact of the pandemic on digital marketing. And then we're going to dive into those strategies that maybe some that are a result of the pandemic learning and that may continue into 2021. What does the career outlook look like for digital marketing? Is this still a hot industry? We're going to hear from Eric Harbison a little bit more about that as he works very closely in the digital marketing space. And also a little bit about our digital marketing fundamentals, our professional certificate program that is incredibly popular. And there are two sessions coming up. We wanted to share with you, if you are interested in diving deeper into the world of digital marketing, the opportunities that we have for you here at the University of Vermont. There's an added value to our digital marketing program as well, is a free career coaching module, which we will share with you. And you're going to learn a lot today. So we're going to offer you a digital badge for participation. I'll explain a little bit more at the end. And you do want to stick around to the end because we will recap what we've learned from Liz and Eric and some key takeaways. Everyone always wants to know, what are the actionable items that I can take out of this learning experience? And so we're going to round those out and summarize them for you at the end. So please stick around. As I mentioned, my name is Nicola Willie-Fenton. I'm the Content Marketing Manager at UVM's Continuing and Distance Education Department. Eric Harbison joins us. He is our lead instructor for our Digital Marketing Fundamentals course. You can see a little bit more about the companies that he's worked with on the slide here. He builds teams, builds an incredible team, which we'll show you on our digital marketing certificate, works on strategies and solutions for the past 25 years in advertising and digital marketing industries. Eric, thank you once again for being with us today. New to our webinar series on digital marketing, but not new to digital marketing, is Liz Willits. She is our instructor in our digital marketing fundamentals on email marketing. Liz is a marketing expert with a focus area in email marketing and content strategies, and we're really looking forward to hearing her perspective. Liz, thank you for being here today as well. Liz and Eric have a good team behind them. I always like to just show this before we dive into the topics because this is a panel, if you will, of a picture, a slide of all of our instructors in our digital marketing fundamentals course. All of these people are in it. They're experts. They are doing the work in digital marketing every single day. If you're interested in learning with this team, these are the people that facilitate our program. So I wanted to start quick with a look back before we start looking forward. And Eric, I'm going to toss over to you first. We've talked about this in past webinars. We have a great blog with your insights on our website right now. There's a lot that we have learned, things that we want to forget a little bit, but a lot we have hopefully learned from the pandemic, specifically in digital marketing. What are a couple things off the top of your head that you think brands can learn and should learn from the pandemic?
Yeah, and it's a great perspective to keep in mind because even when we talked about this last year, some things haven't really changed, but let's think about it from two perspectives. One is from the customer. So from a marketing standpoint, customers are thinking, how is the brand that I'm connected with, or how can brands help me? Because every customer is now put into a different state, whether it's financially or just in terms of needs and wants. So how can brands help me? And then if you're a brand, you have to be thinking, how well do I know my customer? How much value am I providing to my customer beyond what they're using me for from a product service standpoint? So is there an above and beyond that I should be considering, and how can I really play into that that need that's coming from customers about, you know, them asking the question of how can a brand help me?
Really good point. Thank you to keep that in mind. Liz, I also just want to toss over to you, give you an opportunity. You're going to dive really deep into email marketing in just a moment, but you've just lived this from a consultant and an instructor perspective in email marketing. what are you talking with some of the companies that you work with and students about what you can learn from the pandemic?
Yeah, one of the big things that some of my clients learned via the pandemic was to make sure they have a very good e-commerce presence. So one of my clients sells products in grocery stores, and they're in Wegmans, they're in a bunch of different grocery stores, and had most of their sales coming through grocery stores. Pandemic hit, which had a huge positive impact for them because the food and the baking industry saw a big lift in sales for the most part, but they noticed that their e-commerce site was not performing on the level that they would have liked. And we went through an entire website revamp for them. But it's important to have, especially now, a really strong e-commerce presence and a really strong digital presence, even if you are in store. And so that was one of the big trends I noticed with clients, and also the ability to pivot because market demand totally shifted with COVID-19, and I had a lot of clients who had to pivot or who either saw rapid growth or in some cases rapid decline in sales. And the ability to pivot, it was really, really important. And to have a digital presence that allows you to pivot was important too.
Eric and I talked on a webinar, I think maybe in the fall or late summer, about strategies as a result of the pandemic and contingency planning. Eric, do you want to just touch on that for a moment in terms of marketing planning and contingency planning and how key, if you weren't doing it, you sure should be now?
Right. So think about how brands have made it through 2020, learned some things in terms of where the marketing investments may have worked or not worked. But now that you've learned from 2020, hopefully when you were setting budgets for this year, you've carved out a contingency plan budget should something revert back to the shutdown levels that we saw in 2020. And it doesn't have to be thousands and thousands of dollars. It could just be enough to invest in maybe some counter messaging in certain channels or something to appreciate longstanding customers, whether that's a gift card or something to your top 10% of your customers. So thinking about that budget line, where can you maybe pull out a set amount of dollars just in case?
Great. Thank you. Thank you both for that perspective. So let's look forward. Well, here we are, 2021, off to an interesting start. Community. I think we've all seen this as a growing trend. Facebook communities. You're going to talk, Eric, I know, about other platforms where community building is happening. And this seems to be, I think, a really positive trend that we're seeing, and I hope will continue. Will you walk us through what you're seeing in terms of community, Eric?
Yeah, so going off the first question about the impact of the pandemic and talking about brands having to connect with their customers differently, maybe create other environments that are meant to be where they are or talk to them in ways that are a little bit more informal. And this is just a quote that speaks to that from a market research company, a gentleman at a market research company, just about the fact that when it comes to customers or prospects engaging in certain communities, now there's really a need and a want, or these individuals are looking for some deeper connections. And when you create that sort of environment, think about it. You're kind of future-proofing your business if you're able to create an army of advocates by giving them these sorts of communities to play within. And when it comes to community, there's two angles that I want to look at it through. Next slide talks about kind of the, step one. Step one, go to, peek into the conversations your customers or prospects are having into these communities that exist and are being used more now that customers have gone to the, looking for areas to talk with folks like them. So these are platforms you can go to kind of listen into what your customers are saying. Now, this is obviously not an exhaustive list, but these are just some that have been more popular. Obviously, there's Amazon reviews, there's certain review sites, but step one is think about which communities can you go join to go see and hear and listen what's being said around conversations, not just with your brand per se, but think about the industry. Think about the market that you're in. What's being said about that? There could be some gems in there that you can then leverage into your communication and your marketing. And then the other side, so when you think about community, like you're speaking to earlier, brands are starting to create these environments where they can invite in customers, prospects, and there's a whole new burgeoning model that's developing where certain brands are turning communities into revenue streams. So think about, and this could go to any business, right? Universities, retailers, small business, coaches, freelancers. What if you took your best content? What if you took exclusive content and you put it into a community that was walled off, so to speak? So there's tons of tools that exist to do that. And, whether it's a Slack group or whether it's a private event using some of these tools, it's a great way to offer that value. Again, back to what I said earlier, customers saying, how can this brand help me? And the answer being, I'm creating a special room just for you to get a ton of value.
Absolutely. And really feeling that connection and increased loyalty, I would imagine, to that brand in particular. And you have a few use cases here that you just want to reference. I'd love to hear about those too.
Yeah. So all the tools that I mentioned, again, if you haven't heard of them, there's no harm in doing some exploration to learn more about these tools. Again, not an exhaustive list. There's tons out there, which also, again, as marketers, we need to be on top of what's happening in the marketing technology field. So when it comes to community, again, virtual conferences, again, don't think of conferences having to be 2,000 people. It could be your best 30 customers. And there's tools like Hopin to use for that. The membership communities, like I talked about, revenue streams. I give you access to free content in a community, but then to get access to X, Y, and Z that goes beyond that, can be done using tools like Circle. So if you're a marketer, your job is to be prepared to know what exists beyond just Slack and Facebook. Not to say that they're not good, they are effective. However, there are other tools that can create more engaging communities beyond what you're doing in a, let's say, a customer-only Slack community, a specific Facebook community, and then Clubhouse is probably the most popular app as of now. Everyone's seeking the invite. Even that can be a way to create. Think about it. If you're being invited to have a conversation with the CEO, the executive level of your business through a Clubhouse invite, I mean, that's going to be pretty special.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I hope that the folks listening today, that if you have used any of these tools and you want to provide some of your insight, please do that in the chat box. We'd love to hear from how you're using them, or if you are curious about them, we can tap into Eric's knowledge on that too. Thank you. This will continue, I have no doubt. And so now we're going to toss over to Liz, because thinking about what Eric just described in terms of the invite to the community as well, there's no doubt some of that's coming through email marketing. And so email marketing is such an incredible tool that continues to be very relevant today. And so, Liz, I want you to dive in and to tell us and answer this question, which I have a feeling we kind of know the answer, but give us a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's 2021, and this question has been going around for like the past decade. And the question is email marketing dead? It can seem like an outdated strategy. It's been around for a while. A lot of people think of email marketing and they think, hey, it's annoying to me. It annoys me sometimes that I get spam emails, and so it's not effective. And so I'll still hear people ask, is email marketing dead? And it's absolutely not. We're actually, next slide, going through an email renaissance right now. In fact, there are these daily email newsletters that pretty much these entire companies are built on this email newsletter. It is one of their primary ways of gaining revenue. And these are massive companies with hundreds of employees, and their company model is based on this daily email newsletter. And that I'm talking about Finimize, The Skim, Morning Brew. There are many more. And these companies in the past couple years have brought the email newsletter back to the forefront, made it cool again, even though email marketing has been working in the background as the kind of the uncool marketing channel that every marketer knows works really well. But these companies are bringing email back and making it cool again. And these daily email newsletters, if you want a great example of an email newsletter, check out Finimize, check out The Skim, check out Morning Brew. Really effective, and all they're doing is providing information to their audience every day. And often they have sponsorships in these newsletters, and that's one of the ways they're making revenue. They have affiliate links in these newsletters. In the case of a product-based business, you can obviously promote your product in these newsletters. But what you should keep in mind, and I'm going to jump into this in the next slide, is that these newsletters provide value. So next slide.
Liz, I want to ask you just a quick question. As I'm thinking about the different viewers and participants today that probably are sole practitioners to maybe a few people on a marketing team to larger marketing teams, these examples that you're showing here, how many team members do you anticipate might be on their email marketing teams to make these daily, robust, awesome emails happen every day?
I'm sure it's probably like 20 plus. They have a team of journalists, I'm sure, and writers and email marketers who are working on this. So it's definitely a massive amount of work. And I'm a solo practitioner. I certainly don't send a daily email, even though I'm an email expert. So frequency, when it comes to email frequency, what I always say is send as often as you can create value for your audience. And if you're a solo practitioner, that's not going to necessarily be every day because you just can't do it. But send as often as you can provide value, because marketers often think that you can't do a daily email newsletter, you're going to annoy people. These newsletters prove that that's not the case. And it's actually very important to show up in the inbox as often as you can so people remember who you are. But again, if you don't have that manpower of these companies, just send as often as you can.
Great, thank you. I was just thinking about many people are saying, oh my goodness, I'm all by myself. So thank you for that perspective, and keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's look at a few specific reasons of why email marketing continues to work in 2021 when there's other channels out there that are, like the cooler marketing channels. Well, first off, speaking of cooler marketing channels, people often talk about social media. And one of the reasons that email is so effective is that you have a lot more control than you do with social media. And so let me explain. With social media, you are first off dependent on an algorithm. And so the algorithm decides whether your post is going to be visible or not. People who invested in paid Facebook business followers realized many years ago that that was a big investment that doesn't necessarily pay off because Facebook decided that it wasn't going to show business account posts to all of their followers. And now you have to pay to play on Facebook. And it's the same with platforms like TikTok, but in a different sense. TikTok was almost taken out of the US. People who built a massive following in the US were very afraid of the ban on TikTok. They built their business on one platform. And email, on the other hand, you're really in control. You own your email list. And if you don't like your email provider, if you don't like the platform you're using, you can take your email list and go. You can also choose when you send emails and which part of your list is getting those emails. And so you have a lot of control with email as compared to social media. On top of that, consumers actually like emails. Data shows that consumers, and especially even millennials, love email promotion from brands that they have opted into those emails. And as long as it's not good emails. As long as they are good emails. Email gets a bad rap because there are a lot of spammers out there, a lot of people who are just buying email lists. But if you're sending great emails, data shows that consumers actually like them. Again, you own that list. And then email is a really effective way to get attention. People open emails, they click on emails. And finally, I can tell you, after working with a lot of clients and a lot of companies, that email drives revenue. Marketers use email because it drives revenue. My clients, when we want to sell something, we use email. And it's one of the best ways to sell products, to launch products, and to boost your revenue. And so I could go on about this for a while, the key to great email marketing in 2021, but a few key tips. We talked a bit about community, why community is important, but you want to build community with email too. Don't think of email as a sales platform where you're just selling whatever you want when you want. Treat your subscribers, treat it like a relationship and like they're people. And one of the ways that you can build a community and treat email like a relationship is by providing value. it's never a good practice to just text your friends when you want something and no other time. So you want to make sure that you're treating this like a relationship you would with friends and providing value. One of the best ways to do that is to provide education. If you're in e-commerce, provide discounts or product information. Be helpful. Take a creative and unique approach to it. Don't do what everyone else is doing. And then finally, I can't say this enough, write well. It's so important. A lot of people focus on design, but if you don't have the copy, if your email isn't written well, it's a massive problem. And I have an example, which is on the next slide, that kind of talks about this. This is written by Joanna Wiebe of Copy Hackers. And she is one of the best conversion copywriters out there, really convincing, really compelling. And there's two great things about this email. One, it's written so it has such a great tone and natural voice. It doesn't sound like a business wrote it. And check out Copy Hacker, subscribe to their emails, and you'll see examples like this. So that's number one. Number two, she's propping up email, which I really like about this example. She talked about how she had 25K launch via automated emails, made all this revenue just with a set of automated emails. So two great examples of first off, writing well, but then also showing the power of email.
And one of the things that I think about is the data from your email. I don't think we as marketers spend as much time as we should looking at the performance. And so maybe just round out, Liz, how do you advise and the importance of the data that you're seeing in the email, and then what do you do with that information?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not looking at the data in your email, you have no idea whether your strategy is working or not. So a few things in email as far as data that are important to look at are your open rates, your click-through rates, unsubscribe rates, and also obviously sales from email. And with open rates, you want to aim for a 20% or higher open rate if possible. With click-through rates, you want to aim for at least 1%, but I like to go for 2% or higher. The open and click-through rates and the sales rates on your emails are really important. You want to see improvement over time, but if you also notice a big drop in any of those numbers with a specific email, that is a great time to look at that email and figure out what went wrong. And the same if you have an email that performs really well above your average open rate, click-through rate, and sales rate. Look at it, see what's performing well. And I do recommend A/B testing, which is where you test two versions of your email to see what's going to boost open rates, what's going to boost click-through rates.
Great, thank you. We do have a quick question that I would just like to address before we move on back to Eric is how to control stopping email going into spam folders.
Eric and I could probably talk about that for hours. There's a lot of factors that go into it. One of the biggest things that you can do though, simple rule you can follow, is send emails that people asked for and that they want. So don't use purchase lists. Don't opt people into your email list without their permission. You want an opt-in email list or a permission-based list. And that is one of the keys to making sure you get into the inbox, because platforms like Gmail and like Yahoo, their primary concern is giving their customers, which are the email users, emails that they want in their inbox. And so if you are doing permission-based email marketing, there's a much higher likelihood that the emails are wanted. And then you want to deliver on what you promised to send to people. So if you're promising them one thing and then sending them spam, you're probably going to end up in the spam folder.
Right, and you're probably going to end up with unsubscribes as well. Great, thank you, Liz, very much. Okay, let's keep going on some of these trends, and thank you everybody who've been putting questions. We'll come back to that email marketing optimization back in or it looks like digital marketing. Maybe let me know what you're trying to say in that question that I'm seeing that last one, and we'll come back to that in just a few minutes. So, okay. This is no surprise. Video continues to be huge. I think YouTube is the second largest search engine behind Google. And podcasts, I think I was reading, I can't remember if it was Apple or Spotify or some platform was building out advertising on podcasts as well. So that's not going to slow down. Eric, walk us through audio and video and the importance of that in 2021.
Yeah, so aligning with what you just said about why audio and video matters, another reason why audio and video matters for this year is because, again, let's stay close to the theme here about connecting with your customers in a more personal way, or in a way that's going to provide more value. So we all know that video alone just gives more of a personal touch, right? As opposed to maybe something that is, maybe two-dimensional. But video as a performance mechanism has been proven and measured to provide return for brands. When you think about this stat of this chart, the takeaway here is that it is a channel, or I should say it's a tactic to be investing in if you are looking to connect with your customers, right? So don't think of ROI just have to be with revenue. Think of it also with retention, with conversion rates. So that's where I think video defined as, and could be defined as, any outlet that allows you to provide sight, sound, and motion. Reels, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, GIFs at some level. So any video treatment, how does that work into your content or to your marketing? And then
I think too about optimizing those videos too. If Bill Rowland, our SEO instructor and expert in the program, would be here as well, he would say when, the optimization and the SEO opportunities. So you got to think about, if YouTube is the second largest search engine, how are you optimizing the videos that you're creating, right?
Absolutely. And thinking about that aspect of optimizing video content, think about all the types of searches that have increased in the last year. How do I do this? How do I learn this? The how-tos, the looking for more information on common questions. That is a gold mine for any brand that's smart enough to understand how their customers are searching for their product or service. Create a video, optimize the content. You have yourself probably an initiative worth backing. So that coupled with, that the idea of optimizing video translates into audio as well when you think about the podcasting world. And you think about if you're talking about a specific topic and all that great content that exists in the audio itself, that then gets translated into written content, that then gets found by search engines. That's where the audio, again, I think a lot of brands think about audio and podcasting as, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to provide value with that. Well, the bottom line is, if you're focusing on the content that is providing value for your customers around the thing that you're great at in your product or service, then you're extending your ability to optimize for traffic, visibility, and those sorts of things. So this is just a listenership of podcasts. Listen, we all can sit and talk about and probably identify one or two podcasts that we listened to in the last year that we never heard of. It's kind of the good and the bad with podcasts is that it's a popular and effective medium if you're using it for the right reasons. But there's so many podcasts. I think the latest stat was over 1 million, 1.5 million podcasts that exist. So it's kind of pick your poison, and don't let that be something that keeps you from testing it, because you could have something valuable to put out there.
Another thing too, Eric, is, tapping into your frequently asked questions. Most people have them on product pages. We have them on all of our program pages at UVM and Continuing Distance Education, taking some of that really rich content that students, for us, prospective students, are asking, turning it into some of these how-to or these podcasts, I think is a really interesting way to use content you already have. I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, so action items for video and audio. What are you doing with your business or your product that's tapping into these spaces? And yes, if you're sitting here and you work for a B2B company, a nonprofit, yes, TikTok and Reels should be something you're testing. Well, wait, my audience doesn't go to TikTok, or do you know that? And how do you know that? But again, it's another avenue to pursue because if you spend any time researching TikTok and Reels, and again, I say that to anybody in any industry, you'll see that there are individuals giving how-to tips on accounting and on how to prepare a refinance your mortgage in TikTok. Yeah, and that's a way to capture an audience that you may have thought, oh, they're never going to be in TikTok. So consider looking into those avenues for video. For audio, it isn't just, so two things on audio to make clear. The value is not just in you creating the episode. Each episode is you answering a question from your audience, but it's also the opportunity to get into, I talked about a million podcasts. There's probably a podcast out there that talks about your industry that you may and could pursue being a sponsor, being a partner, finding a way to tap into their audience because they are tangentially relevant to what you're trying to do. Not a direct competitor, but something that is, supportive of what your target customer is interested in. So a lot of opportunity in both these areas. And again, if I'm running a marketing team today, I'm looking for ideas for my team in these two areas.
Eric, we have a question from Lori who asks, my clients have huge safety concerns regarding TikTok. I know that that's been kind of a theme that we've heard. How would you respond to that?
So assuming Lori has clients. So again, I say that knowing that, sure, there's going to be some limitations and you may have some clients that are not into it or looking to avoid it or have they're opposed to risk, have a low risk tolerance. So then it's not for them. But as somebody who has a client, maybe doing some research to see, are there competitors there? Is there something worth testing that could be brand neutral, just to see if there's an appetite for whatever it is that your client does. So I'm not saying you have to be there, but yeah, if there's safety reasons and concerns and fight another battle with your client if they're not into testing TikTok, because there could be other avenues you pursue, like a how-to video on YouTube, might be a little bit less risky in their eyes, but allows you to tap into that sight, sound, emotion to connect with that viewer.
Great. Thank you. And that was a great question, Lori. Thank you very much for that. We're going to keep going. And I do see some other questions coming in. We'll get to those in just a moment. And I know we still have that question. Liz, I know that we have the question about optimizing email. So I'll give you a chance to be thinking about that. You can't tell me that everybody who is joining us today has not said, hey, Siri or Alexa, where is the local takeout? Who's open for takeout locally? So this is becoming, it was more fun, I think, Alexa, and testing it out over the last couple of years. Now it's become so interesting, the things that we're searching for, because many times we couldn't leave the house or didn't want to leave the house. And so you're wanting to limit where you're going. And so you want to make sure that item is there. And so voice search and some of those tools, I can only imagine, have gotten through the roof and may continue. Do you want to share some thoughts on that, Eric?
Well, again, this all aligns with what are the new habits of our customers? What are the new habits of those that we want to be customers? And you think about maybe the searches or the requests that are being made at home. I mean, how many times in the last year have you been sitting at home watching some show and you need to know a stat, a fact, a figure from whatever it is that you're consuming, and you just go ahead and ask your voice assistant. So the increase of reliance on that thing in your house that can give you an immediate feedback just by saying something should be something that we consider as businesses. Now, again, this is the best part about it. It isn't just for the Nikes and the Pepsis and the Cokes. If you run a pizza shop, if you run an Etsy business, you have the opportunity to create content that could satisfy the searches or the voice requests being made by your customers or your potential customers. Think about it. It goes back to that, like you're saying, FAQs for my business. Well, if I had a page on my site that talked about FAQs for the common, whatever it is relevant to your product or service, that's content worth creating, as it will allow the algorithms to most likely pick it up to be part of those answers when voice searches are being conducted. So that's where this voice search starts to play is, am I ready to create that sort of content?
And I think too that this next slide, we talk about, okay, there's these trends. where are the roles available to people? And many folks we may have, and please, if you feel comfortable putting in the chat box, are you on a marketing team? Are you on a are you a sole proprietor? Are you on a small marketing team, large marketing team? You may be wearing many, many hats. You may be the business owner and also doing all of your marketing. Would really love to see where people kind of sit in terms of their marketing. And what we know is that digital marketing is not slowing down. Yes, there's been a lot of shifts, but you can't underestimate the value of writing, as Liz said, SEO, listening skills. I think that's an incredibly important one that we have in here, because a lot of that ties back into the strategies that you're talking about. And Eric, you work very closely with our students in our digital marketing fundamentals course, and you work closely as your own business in helping people in this industry. What's happening out there? Is the digital marketing career space still really hot?
I mean, from my perspective, you know, if you asked me a year ago, what's it going to look like in a year, I would have been cautious because of what was going on, but I've seen nothing but growth in this field for a couple of reasons, in a couple of ways. One, the positions that are available have increased significantly. Even I go back to March of 2020 when things first started to shut down, yet a month later, the number of roles in digital marketing had increased. So since then, I mean, it just continues to increase. Why? Because, well, as Liz was saying, some businesses had to get online. I need someone to create content, someone who knows social media, someone that can communicate with customers to come and fulfill this need. So roles are increasing, but what is also increasing is the number of people competing for those roles, not just the ones that graduated with a degree in marketing, but the accountant, the HR professional that decided that, hey, digital marketing seems to be a little bit more future-proof than what I'm doing. Let me become a new marketer and pick up the skills I need and transfer the skills that I have, some of these here, right? If I'm a good writer, if I'm good with people, if I'm a good communicator, if I'm good with numbers. Listen, those relate to people that aren't in marketing. Those are definitely transferable into specific marketing roles. Go back to what we talked about earlier, audio and video. If I have a passion for editing video and I maybe tinker with audio on the weekends, you know, there are positions that are popping up when it comes to editing and being kind of showrunners for these sorts of content that's being created. So I think there's a lot of, you know, standard roles that exist, but there's also a lot of, you know, kind of fluid and dynamic roles that are being created by the needs of some of the contents being created by some of these brands.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. And I see some of the folks with us are saying how busy they are, and Lori's saying she's turning away clients. Liz, I want it, before we dive a little bit more into the fundamentals and some of the learning opportunities out of the digital marketing fundamentals course. Liz, I want to come back to you because we had the question earlier about optimizing your email marketing campaigns. What do you recommend?
Yeah, great question. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier was A/B testing. And A/B testing is when you take two nearly identical emails with one difference. So for instance, let's say you want to optimize your open rates. And so you decide to A/B test your subject lines. And so you take, you know, one test, it's the same exact email, same exact content, different subject lines. One email, let's say you want to test a short subject line, and the other you test a really long subject line. Or one, you try words in a certain order and you try them in a different order in another subject line. Or you focus on different benefits, let's say. You send those two A/B tests and you see which one has the better open rates. And that is an example of a way to optimize your emails. You can do that with click-through rates. You can do that with your sales rates and test different strategies there. And when you see a clear winner in a A/B test, that's a great strategy to keep going with and a way to optimize your strategy for sure. Another thing you can do is surveying your subscribers. If you're getting low open rates, low click-through rates, not many sales from your emails, you can survey subscribers and ask them like, hey, how can I make my email newsletter better for you? What questions do you have? How can I help you? And just having understanding of your audience, a better understanding of who they are and what they need, that is going to have a big impact on optimizing your email strategy for sure. And so I hope that helps, but let me know if that didn't answer your question.
Great. We'll keep an eye on the chat box for any follow-up to that. Thank you so much, Liz. And a lot of the things that both of you have been talking about and Erica was talking about related to those skills is what we teach in the digital marketing fundamentals. And so, of course, I have to give a plug to this program because it's amazing. It's one of the #1 online digital marketing programs in the country for several years. As I showed in an earlier slide, the people teaching in this course are experts who are doing the work, like Eric, like Liz, and many other folks that we've had in webinars over the past several years. Eric, just give us a quick overview. What is the course structure look like? What kind of hours is it for people? Because most people usually are working professionals that might be looking to upskill or change a career.
Yeah, so a couple of things from the high level, which is this course is designed to be valuable, not just for the 8 weeks that you're in it, but for the lifetime of your career, specifically if you're looking to be in marketing. Secondly, it's designed for adult learners. So it's content that you can access on your schedule. Your commitment is 1 time per week, which is a live session. You can't make the live session, we record it. And that is for more discussion around topics that were covered. But there's a lot that we cover in each week. However, it doesn't shut down as soon as the 8 weeks or that week is over. You have access to this content, this learning for the duration of your career. So it really is something that is intense for 8 weeks. And I'll be honest about that because we do want to cover a lot and we don't want to overwhelm you, but we want to give you enough that you need to know about these specific channels so that you are equipped to go on in your career, whether it's someone who's new to marketing that is learning for the first time, or if you're somebody who knows paid search and SEO, but you want to learn a little bit more about it and how it relates to social and email and those things. That's the value of this course. And again, the time commitment per week, 8 to 10 hours, and that includes the hour session plus what you're reading pre and watching in videos because we want to make it easy for you to consume. And what you're doing in the assignments, I'll say, are assignments that are meant to give you assets to carry into your portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. And great transition over to a little bit of information here in terms of some of the outcomes and the things that you'll be learning. And of course, I'm not asking you to read this, Eric, but just touch on outcomes and real tangible things that our digital marketing students get out of this program.
So outcomes, right? So if you enter the program, you have a little bit of knowledge around marketing, you'll have a much more holistic picture over what it takes to be successful. You'll learn something around each specific channel we cover about, oh, I didn't know it would work that way, guaranteed. You'll have the connection with every instructor that you meet in this course. This is what I'm most excited about for people that want to take and invest the time here is that you have basically in your back pocket experts in all these areas for your lifetime, right? You can contact them after the course is over, during the course, if you have an issue with something in your day-to-day. So that's definitely a takeaway. Plus, the Capstone project that we designed equips you with the framework and the experience that you can take into your day-to-day, or you can leverage for a client if you're a freelancer and get paid for it, or you can leverage when you're looking to propose something for your manager or for your team in a marketing capacity. So just the tangibles are so valuable for anybody who's looking to really invest in the growth of their marketing career.
And I have seen many a student come back to you, and you're so good about connecting with everybody on LinkedIn. I've seen many a student share with you via LinkedIn the positions that they've landed as a result of the Capstone project sometimes, because that's the value and the tangible thing that they can show to demonstrate their skills, and having the certificate underneath their belt has been huge, an asset for perspective in your career changing. This is showing the dedication that you have to this. And I see lots of questions here in terms of the registration and the next session. I'm going to get to that in just 1 minute, because I wanted to give everybody something too. We have a digital badge for your learning and your time. We know your time is valuable, so we wanted to say thank you. And we have a digital badge for your experience today. People use it on their LinkedIn, they use it on Facebook. It's really the resume of today. So is showing in a digital way the continued learning that you are doing. So I wanted to just share that that's an opportunity. We will also share this information in the follow-up email with the recording, and Kelly on our team here will put up the link to the landing page where you can request that digital badge. And I hope you do, because I hope you've learned a lot of great information. You want to show that off. So the next Digital Marketing Fundamentals starts January 27th. There's another session. We run it several times a year. The following session starts in April. So if you're looking ahead as to what your spring, the rest of your winter and your spring look like, either of those sessions would be good. We run about 100 students per session. Is that about where we're sitting right now, Eric?
Somewhere between 125, yeah.
Yeah, Kelly's giving me a little arrow up. It goes a little higher. Share with me though, okay, so maybe some of the people who are with us are saying, oh, that's a lot. I don't know if I want to be with that many students. How does, and I think about Christopher Hill, who supports students so much in this program. How do students in a large cohort like 125 feel connected and feel like they're getting the attention that they need?
So it really comes down to whenever there's a challenge, whenever there's a question, there's someone to answer them immediately, whether that's passively or actively, whether you just post a question and someone will answer it. We are set up with, you mentioned Chris Hill, who's our kind of a learning coach and assistant for the program. And he's there not just to, again, Chris is someone who's doing this day to day, so he can answer your question on SEO, paid search, et cetera, because he does it. But he's also there to make sure that you're getting unstuck around anything, whether it's a technical, whether it's educational, whether it's tied to the assignments. So there's rarely a time where someone can't get the help they need to, get over that hurdle within the program.
Great, thank you. And just you, I'm sure can see the information there in terms of the cost. There are some discounts. This is the other thing that I want to make sure that everyone knows too. The career coaching, I mentioned it in the beginning. This is free. And for our digital marketing fundamental students, there is a add-on. You can sign up for it. It starts at the end of the program for about 5 weeks. I think there's about 5 modules. And this is an incredible opportunity. Even if you just want to clean up your resume, you just want to test out, interviewing, you want to test out that cover letter, what it is that you might want to do if you're not actively seeking something right now, but it's something you just want to do a little bit of prep work for. I highly recommend this. And Eric and I were talking before the webinar about the value of this. Sue Shlom is our person who teaches this, and she is a recruiter. Eric, tell everybody what you were telling me earlier about how important that is as you are considering your next career move.
Yeah, it's great because everyone hates looking for a job. And because of that, most people do it in a way that's not very efficient. So imagine if you had the answers to the test before you took the test, so to speak. So Sue represents that great perspective of here's what hiring managers look for, here's what recruiters look for when looking at your resume, LinkedIn profile, et cetera. And she will run you through the gauntlet of what you need to update so that when you put your best foot out there in terms of getting interview for that job, you've heard it from Sue the recruiter. But on the other side, myself and other instructors here, if you have questions about the job, the interview, the resume, et cetera, we're at your disposal from a marketer side, from a hiring manager of a marketing team side. We can give you the perspective on what else you need to include, what else you can do. Oh, by the way, the assignments that you do in this course are things that hiring managers look for. So you really are in a good spot if your motivation, your goal is to get a job, new job, next job in marketing as part of the course.
Great, thank you. I want to go through these key takeaways and then we'll have a few minutes left for some questions because I see a couple more that have come in. Registration, you can register, ideally the day before it starts. We do have people that jump in if there's space. The day it begins, it can be done, but again, we're limited in seats. And so if it's something you're interested in, I would highly recommend that you consider signing up and putting your name into our next cohort. I wanted to come back, and Liz, you're on deck next. I wanted to just come back and round out. We've talked about a lot of different things. We've talked about what happened in 2020 and takeaways. We've talked about the digital marketing course, your digital badge that you can get for your learning today. And 2021, what are some of the strategies as marketers that you want to take going forward? Eric, if you just want to give us that kind of actionable recap here, and then we'll go to Liz next.
Yeah, so one thing I wanted to stress earlier, but I didn't, but just here is the email is so important. All the things I talked about, community, audio, video, those things don't succeed unless you have a email database. How do you inform them that something is launched? How do you let someone know that they've been accepted? How do you provide more value to that individual that's not quite sure they want to buy your product or service and get them over that one hurdle? So email as a call to action for any of these strategies that we're talking about is a must, because if your audio and video exists with a dead end and there's no way to connect back or to get people to maybe connect for more value, that's a missed opportunity. So I think all these things kind of are interconnected because we know that the customer nowadays doesn't really follow the proverbial funnel. They're just more of a journey because they're all over the place, and these are the strategies that will help tie it all together.
Great, thank you. Liz, I want to come back to you too. We've had a lot of great questions about how to do email to the best of their ability. What would you want folks to take out of this session today?
Yeah, number one thing, have an audience first perspective, a subscriber first perspective. Think about how your subscribers are perceiving your emails, how they're going to feel about your emails. And what that's going to do is shift your email strategy from sale, I'm always selling, to how can I build a relationship here and provide value where people want to be subscribed to my email list and they look forward to my emails. And you develop a sense of community where you're giving to them. And so when it comes time to sell your product, to sell your service, you have a relationship with the subscriber where they, feel inclined to buy from you and not like you're a pushy salesman or woman.
Yep, building relationships to be able to build that community. And Eric, coming back to audio, visual, if you're not doing it, start dipping your toe, start to figure out the plan here so that you can get into the second largest search engine on YouTube. What would you recommend, or the takeaways you want people to out of what you've talked about today?
The biggest action item I could recommend, because attendees may be sitting there thinking, well, how's this relevant for my business? I don't know how to take action on this. And if you have any sort of audience or customer base, step one, survey them. Ask them questions to understand what do they really think they want, or what do they need as it relates to forms of content for you to provide value. Now, if they're already customers, great. Let them influence how you go find the next series of customers. But step one is to understand what your audience needs or wants before you start to investigate some of these tests, because you may find that they appreciate audio more than video, or vice versa. But again, it all has to start with understanding your customer to determine what makes the most sense. The second thing I'll say is, from that survey would be, what kinds of content can I be creating? Because we may be missing the mark because our customers may be stuck on this one step of the process. Well, let's create some content. Simple 5-step blog post followed by a podcast, followed by a video how-to. And that could be worth, again, that's worth putting time against because it's coming from your customers.
Great, thank you. And thinking about utilizing pages that you have on your website to tap into voice search, making sure that product details, FAQs, how-tos, hours of operation, are you doing takeout, curbside, all of the things that we now ask on a regular basis and look for, important to consider. I wanted to just note, we're going to wrap up here in just a moment, but I wanted to come back. Eric, we had a question a little bit ago from Megan. Megan asked, can you give a little bit of description on the Capstone projects? And happy to, Megan, if you want to send us an email, Kelly can put our email up into the chat box. We can send you some examples of some of the Capstones too. I know we've done that in the past, but Eric, just describe what you're seeing in some of the Capstone projects.
So the structure of the Capstone project is to allow every student to think strategically and to execute the development of a digital marketing plan. You put into practice everything you've learned throughout the course. So it's structured, there's a brand, there's a marketing challenge, there's a specific type of marketing campaign. And every student has to follow that framework to then build a digital marketing plan. But most importantly, students get to present that plan. And I've seen students that are fearful of hearing their own voice that have aced it because they got outside their comfort zone. And again, that's really the value behind this course is a lot of times getting students out of their comfort zone so that they can thrive. And that's Capstone project is designed 100% to do that as well.
Great. And as Kelly just put into the chat, our email address. So please do send us an email, Megan, if you would like a few examples of some capstones because they're pretty awesome. I know we have a question about a deposit to secure the spot. I'm going to let Kelly answer that in the chat box. She's going to get and timing of visas. Yeah, that's a great question. Why don't you also send us an email in terms of those specific questions, because there may be certain cases and certain things that we need to know from our enrollment coaches. And that's what they're here to do, is to help you and answer questions that are really specific to your case, to see if we can get in there as well. Timing of the class, let me just zip back as well to that slide because lots of people, maybe I went over that too quickly. The next session starts on January 27th. The following one is April 14th. And as Eric was describing, about 8 to 10 hours a week. And you learn from Eric, you learn from Liz, you learn from Bill Rowland, you learn from Christopher Hill. Oh my goodness, I can't even think of all the other people's names. Krista Parks. Tyler King, social media, all kinds of different people who are doing this work every day alongside of you and are sharing their experiences. So I highly recommend exploring it if this is something that you're looking to do, and we would be happy to answer any additional questions. So, okay, there was how do you manage a 100 student in a single offering? I hope we've answered that for you when talking about Christopher Hill really is an academic and a student support. And there's a lot of interaction. And as Eric said, and he's not kidding, these instructors are very accessible and questions get answered really quickly. So we look forward to hopefully having many of you join our course. So that's where we're going to wrap up. I'm seeing questions are kind of slowing down. Thank you. Lori says thank you for this information. And thank you, everybody, for joining us, asking great questions, your interest in digital marketing and success in 2021. And we hope to see many of you in our program coming up. Eric and Liz, thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.